I'm Chris Daniels for Spotlight on America. It's one of the largest chronicled cases of sexual misconduct in military history. A trusted Army doctor sentenced to more than 13 years in prison after pleading guilty to sexually abusing dozens of patients in his care here at Joint Base Lewis McChord near Tacoma, Washington. It is a closed chapter in a sprawling investigation we first told you about more than a year ago, but the story is far from over.
My first actual appointment for care was with Michael Stockin.
This service member, who wanted to be anonymous, was seeking help for pain here at Joint Base Lewis McChord in 2022.
When do you know during the course of this appointment that something is off?
As soon as he asked me to, or directed me to drop my pants.
Because you're looking for relief from back pain.
Correct.
The 15-year veteran served throughout the U.S. and overseas and questioned what happened that day for nearly a year until he started to realize that he had been abused.
When you hear that there could be multiple people involved, what crossed your mind?
I was angry, but there's also some affirmation that no, it wasn't just me who got taken advantage of. It didn't happen just because I was weak. It happened because he set it up in intentionally ambiguous ways to take advantage of people who are trained to trust people in positions of authority.
A shattered faith shared by dozens of soldiers. Spotlight on America attended closed-door proceedings with servicemen laying out accounts of being inappropriately touched during medical appointments. Stockin admitted to the crimes and pled guilty to 41 counts, ending with a dismissal from the Army and the maximum sentence, 164 months in prison, 4 months for each named victim.
This has lingered for you longer than those 4 months that he's going to serve for the crime against you.
It'll be with me my whole life.
We're talking about people who have devoted their lives for our country, and our Army let them down.
Attorney Ryan Giles represents 7 men who were assaulted by Dr. Stockin, but believes many others are out there and have remained silent.
Reporting sexual assault across the board, very difficult. Few victims are able to have the ability to come forward and to report. But for men, we know those numbers are even lower. And these men didn't want to admit something was wrong.
A recent survey estimated that 14,000 active duty men experienced unwanted sexual contact or sexual assault in 2023. Nearly 90% chose not to report their experience. Giles is raising concern about how the military identified victims in the Stockin case and says it failed to ensure they were given critical resources.
1 out of the 41 victims had a victim advocate. That's unacceptable. Half of the victims in this case didn't have a counsel. Even though they have a right to one, having a lawyer to help advocate for them and empower them is a critical part of the process.
Last year, Giles sent this letter to Congress raising concern that victims hadn't received essential support and representation, and tells us he intends to follow up.
Dr. Stockin is responsible for Dr. Stockin's actions, but the Army failed to provide those services, and it had a real negative impact on our soldiers. And I'm angry about it.
The hearing will come to order.
President Trump's pick for Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, says he was falsely accused of non-military sexual assault in 2017.
There was a coordinated smear campaign orchestrated in the media against us.
He has pledged to appoint a senior-level official dedicated to sexual assault prevention and response. The American military is facing a reckoning with the issue of sexual assault, which has been pervasive among its ranks. In an unprecedented case this winter, a former battalion commander was convicted of sexual harassment. The young woman who accused him sat down with us after the trial.
I think that there's a lot of women out there who suffer in silence.
It is the first conviction for sexual harassment since a major overhaul added the offense to the Military Justice Code in 2022. The overhaul also included forming the Office of Special Trial Counsel, removing decisions about sexual assault allegations from the chain of command and into the hands of independent prosecutors who handled the case against Stockin. According to the DoD's latest statistics, the estimated prevalence of sexual assault within its ranks decreased in 2023 for the first time in a decade, with the military saying it's cautiously optimistic that it's the result of recent reforms. The criminal case against Stockin ends here, but there is a growing civil complaint seeking to hold the Army itself accountable, alleging it was negligent in hiring and supervising Dr. Stockin. More than 24 alleged victims are involved in that lawsuit. Recent filings in the civil case allege the Army allowed him to continue seeing patients even after receiving complaints in 2022. A service member in one complaint obtained by Spotlight on America writing, "In many ways, Dr. Stockin's actions have ruined my life."
And you went to the pain clinic.
Yes.
For this man, who has a 20-year military career as a senior enlisted soldier with multiple wartime deployments, there was solace in hearing from others who had been abused.
I would say that the only positive that came out of this for me was hearing the other victims and knowing that tragically there's some type of shared hardship in all of us out there.
Where do you go from here after going through this and the plea and the sentencing?
I go back to repairing my family and working on myself.
Michael Stockin's attorney tells Spotlight on America his client takes full responsibility for his actions and that he is making no excuses. We'll continue to follow the civil case as it moves forward. For now, I'm Chris Daniels for Spotlight on America.